Okay.
Hi, ladies.
Hey, Vikki. This
Hi,
is
ladies.
Retired Teachers with our special guest, Vikki Kestell. And we are super excited that she has taken time to join us on a virtual meeting because she has a book coming out very soon. But we want to say, first of all, congratulations on the Selah award.
Oh, thank you. Yes, thank you.
That is super cool. That was well-deserved. Well-deserved.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, that was last May that Nanostealth Book 4, Deep State Stealth, won the Selah Award for Mystery and Suspense. And the second book in the series we are going to talk about, Laynie Portland, is nominated for another Selah Award this year. It is really exciting to get nominated 2 years in a row like that.
Prairie Heritage series is historic fiction. Nanostealth is science fiction. Laynie Portland is spy and espionage.
Gotta love it.
Where do you see yourself? Where are you most comfortable? And it's not that just that you've written in those, it's that you've excelled in those. Obviously, I mean, you're being nominated for awards in more than one genre, so it's just fascinating, all of them, and all of them are so amazing, and yet you're so diverse.
I don't, Sharon, I almost don't know how to answer that question except to say that I read widely. I read in lots of different genres. And the minute I let my imagination out of its little cage, I start mentally writing around some of the things I've written. I keep thinking I'm getting to the end or close to the end of the books that I have in queue to be written. And then, you know, I'm thinking about a series about a little old lady. Her name is Miss Finch, and she goes to Lake Tahoe in her little trailer with her little bike, and she solves the Tahoe mysteries. Miss Finch and the Tahoe mysteries. So I just don't know. There's just not enough time or energy to write everything that my little crazy head comes up with. I just kind of do what I'm most led to do, but there's always a crowd in the back of my head saying, pick me.
When we first met, Laynie Portland, Sharon said, I want to know more about her.
Now, let me remind you, because I'm sure you've forgotten, but in All God's Promises, the first time we really get a glimpse at her, of Laynie Portland, which is her sister Carrie, the first time they really have an in-depth conversation, Carrie tells her, I think you are a spy, and possibly a very good one. I think you are so deep undercover in Sweden that they, whoever they are, don't want to let you out. I think you feel obligated to stay and feel a patriotic duty not to quit. I read that and I told MiLena, I hope she does a series about Laynie. Did you know at that point you were going to?
Well, how about I let you in on a little secret?
Please.
I knew about Laynie Portland before I knew about Carrie.
Really?
Really?
I just got a shiver. I had already started crafting Laynie Portland Retired Spy. And before I even got halfway into the Prairie Heritage series. And all of a sudden, when I got to the end of Lost Are Found, I realized Laney is going to be Carrie's lost sister. And I brought her in so that I could bring her out.
Yes.
And I get shivers because I know that it's God doing it. You know, he just intersected those two stories and two lives so perfectly that I was like, oh, and I'm going to write her entire story. I just need the time and the energy to do it.
Okay. Why a spy?
Well, You see, I pictured her first before I actually started writing the series. I pictured her first as actually being pulled off the field and forced into retirement. And being forced into retirement, she was forced to face the emptiness in her life.
Yes.
And that was the original caricature that I had of her, or the vision, the idea I had of her. And then when I began to write her, I wrote her into all God's promises so that I could elicit that understanding that she'd be coming and tie her in. But when I started writing her story, I realized that the word retired had more than one meaning. And that in order for her to get out of the mess that you just read about, that Carrie said to her, I believe you're a spy and possibly a good one, but you can't get out. I began to see that she was actually stuck, unable, so controlled by both her handlers and the man she was living with that she was not going to get out unless she ran. And if she ran, they were going to hunt her down. So retired spy became a whole different meaning. And what I had before just went out the window and was replaced by this. And then when I realized that the timeline intersected with another important historical event, I sat there shivering. I just shaking, going, oh, dear Lord, I see now where this is going, where you're taking me. And oh, wow.
That MiLena and I have both just gone back and reread all three of the previous Laynie Portland because we want the fourth one. We're getting ready.
It's done.
And we didn't want to pick it up cold. We wanted to have a good, firm background before we got to it.
As I was reading it the first time, I will be honest, there was a lot that I just didn't realize was there because I was just focused on the storyline. One of the things that I started noticing the second time through, I had read all of it the first time through. That's why I had such a vivid image in my mind of where we were and what we were doing. But the second time through, the logistic side of my brain kicked in, and I'm like, wow, how did she know what the layout of this city was? How did she know what the architecture looked like? How did she describe these places, not only in the US, not only in Canada, but in Sweden, in Russia? I mean, we've got places all over the world that you're describing. And I'm thinking, how much research does this woman do?
Well, I have two people on my team, and I've got to give them all the credit that they deserve. Cheryl and Greg, I could not be doing what I'm doing without them. I know that I have to present the scene in which my characters are walking and moving in such a way that it's like a video running in the background and you can see it.
Yes.
You can see it and smell it and taste it, and you could probably navigate through it because that allows you to fully invest in the characters because you're right there with them. Now, Google Maps is really my friend because I can not only go there and see it on a map version, but I can drop down into a city. And so when I'm at that church in St. Petersburg,
Yes.
I think it's called Our Savior on Spilled Blood, the one with the beautiful onion towers. You can drop in there just about 100 different places and see that church from all those different views. You can walk along the roads. It's like being there. So those kinds of things allow me to describe pretty accurately. But as I've told Greg, who will oftentimes go off and research on his own because he's now in love with whatever we're talking about and what I'm writing about, you only need enough to enhance the story.
Yes.
You have to have a fine touch with these things. First of all, character is king. We are invested in the people that we've gotten to know, we're rooting for, we hate, whichever it is. You know, we are invested in them, and we want to be embedded there, but we don't want to be overwhelmed.
I wanted to ask why you had Laney work for an unsanctioned agency rather than, say, CIA or FBI.
Okay, and that's a really good question, and there's kind of sort of a simple answer, is that I've never worked for the FBI or CIA. And, you know, people who have, or people who are familiar with them, you know, they're going to understand when you've gone off script, you know, when you've gone off the reservation. And I also decided that an unacknowledged espionage intelligence agency, really, because it's Cold War. They're collecting intelligence from our Cold War enemies or adversaries, trying to stay ahead of the technology game, keep the United States, keep actually NATO, all of NATO at the top of that. I thought that having Marsted International be a technology company would give me a lot of latitude to do things that FBI and CIA agents are not allowed to do, to take the story in any direction I wanted it to, and I could craft it just the way I wanted to. So that's why I did that.
The covers of the book, seeing her change from this kind of innocent, naive look on the first one, it's subtle, but it's significant. You can see how she became hardened.
Yes.
And so whoever did that artwork, that was, wow, that was impressive.
Sharon, I appreciate you drawing the distinction between Laynie Spy Rising, when she was only 24, I think, or 26. And then Laynie Portland, Retired Spy, where she's 46, 48 years old. Because although I had the images, I had to age her. I'm glad you said you did see it, that it was obvious to you, because it's really what I was trying to do, was to show that she wasn't this smooth-cheeked, you know, sharp-jowled young thing anymore with bright, shiny blue eyes, but now she had lines of mileage on the road, you might say.
Do you know the end of the story when you start writing, or are you going along for the journey just like the rest of us? You know, I mean, do you dictate what your characters say, or once you reach a certain point, they're so established?
Sharon, I love what you're asking, because this is something that I've talked to Conrad, my husband, extensively about. I'll walk out of a writing session and go, wow, everything just took a left-hand turn, and I didn't see that coming at all. But about the plot line, I'm not an outliner. I don't create an outline. Basically, I have one or two scenes that are like end points or objectives. I need to get here because this needs to happen, and then I need to get there because that needs to happen. And I will write and connect them up, and then I will go to the beginning and write and connect that up. I can write anywhere in the book, just about. I almost never write in a linear fashion, you know, like start at A and then go through to Z, because I'm always looking at the objectives, right? What do I need this book to say? What do I need this book to do? And I need you to know that I don't ever go into a writing session without praying. I have to submit everything I'm doing to the Lord, because if I don't, it's never going to do what He wants it to do.
Talk to us about a typical day of writing. What does it look like?
And while you're talking about that, explain the difference, because you are your own publisher as well, correct?
Yes,
and
I am.
So what all is involved for you to have a book go from these people are talking in my head to now it's ready? Now it's ready to be out there.
Okay. Well, my publishing house's name is Faith-Filled Fiction, the writing of Vikki Kestell. That's my trademark and my publishing house. Well, usually it's a 6-month period from start to finish. I have a spreadsheet. I have a daily word count goal and a weekly word count goal of between 10 and 12,000 words per week. So if I write 6 days a week, and by the way, I do work 6 days a week. I take Sundays off. I don't work on Sundays, but I work 6 days a week. I'll get up around 6. I'll grab my coffee. I'll come into the office. I'll spend my time. I'll do my Bible study. Then I will spend time praying. Then I sit down and I begin to write. And like I said, I will be writing from about 7 or 7:30 in the morning because, you know, I had coffee and devotions before that until about until 9. Conrad calls me to breakfast. We eat breakfast. We have Bible study. I go back to work, and then we break up for lunch at 1:30. So in that time, I will have written 2,000 words. And if I hit that 6 days in a row, I have 12,000 words. And if I do that for 10 weeks, I have 120,000 words, the length of a book. And I'll rewrite and revise and fill it. And it's always amazing to me how much longer the story is than what I thought it was going to be. So then, you know, we have lunch together, and if I haven't hit my words, I'm back in the office until I get them. And then but at the end of 12 weeks, and I have a revision week, I have a complete book. So out of the 6 months, it's taken me 3 months, right, to write the draft. Then I ship it off to my team, and they have 2 weeks, 3 weeks, it depends upon what our schedule is and how long the book is, to do their first review, their first revision. And then I get in there, and while they're doing that, I'm either taking a short break and then coming back and revisiting the manuscript from beginning to end and doing some more revising. And then I get their corrections. So we go through this iterative process 3 complete times through the manuscript to revise and to rewrite. Okay. And also what's going on at some time during this is I'm starting to advertise the new book, and I can't advertise the new book until I have a cover. So then I've got to start developing covers. And when I have a whole series that I'm going to be starting, I have to think, how am I going to keep continuity between book A, book 1, 2, 3, and 4. And so, you know, I do my own cover design now. I did have someone design the cover to Stealthy Steps for me, and someone designed the cover to Tabitha for me. But all the other covers I've designed myself. You know, necessity is the mother of invention. So I've gotten better at it as I've gone along. But so all these things are going on in a 6-month period. Plus, there's formatting the book for ebooks, which is a different format than for print books. Because then when you get into formatting for print books, that's a very tedious, time-consuming process. You got to get it right. And then, of course, when you're all done and you have all your manuscripts ready to go, then you have to upload them. And crafting the description, sometimes crafting the description to a book is harder than writing the book itself.
If someone's new to your writing, someone's just picking up, what book would you send them to for their first book?
If they like historical fiction, they should read the first 3 books of the Prairie Heritage series that I have also done an ebook trilogy together. It's all 3 books in one ebook volume. It's called A Prairie Heritage: The Early Years. Mm-hmm. And it's free as an ebook, so you can just pick it up and read right through 3 books right there.
That's where I started.
There you go. So in historical fiction, I'd say that one. But see, that's all 4 of my series. The first book in it is free. So if you like something that looks like it's going to be a little more romancy schmancy, Girls from the Mountain kind of looks that way. Tabitha is the first book, and she's a World War I nurse, and so she's wearing her uniform and she's out on the battlefield. Mm-hmm. And then Stealthy Step, the Nanostealth series, Stealthy Steps is the first book, is free. And Laynie Portland, the first book is free. So I'm like the local pusher, you know, the first one is free.
Okay, I think you've already answered the next question, and that is, what's next? And that is going to be the Tahoe Mysteries, or
No, I
waiting
have
to see.
So I put out a survey. Did you take the survey that was in the newsletter? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm thinking that A Prairie Heritage should have a concluding book, Rose of River Bend.
Yes.
I'm wondering about doing a 5th Nanostealth book. And then I've had a middle-aged romance. I've never written a romance. None of my books are romancy schmancy, really. Not really. They have romance in them, but they're not romances.
Right.
And so I wanted to write this middle-aged romance, and the working title is Prickly as a Cactus, Thorny as a Rose. Like I said, I have a lot of books in my head, but I don't know if I have that many years left. We'll see. God willing.
Well, I know we're looking forward to anything that you write. That is for sure.
Thank you.
And we're still on schedule for June the 2nd?
Yes, for Laynie Portland,
Oh.
Spy Resurrected. Like I said, I pushed the publish button this morning for both the print book and the ebook. So it's out there. It's going through the when you're publishing on a platform like Amazon or Barnes and Noble or Ingram Spark, there's a little review process, and then it gets pushed out. And so, and when you put an ebook on pre-order, like Laynie Portland is on pre-order right now for June 2nd, it's ready. It's just ready. They will release it on the day that I gave them, which was June 2nd.
Okay, and that brings us to, I guess, our final question, and that is, you've mentioned a couple of formats, but how can people get your books?
Oh, you can get them in ebook on Kindle, on Nook, Apple Books, and Kobo. In other words, you can go to Barnes and Noble, or you can go to Apple, or you can go to Kobo or Amazon, and you can find the ebook in their format. But you can also get the print book from Amazon. I think you can get it also through Barnes and Noble. And then bookstores can get my books through Ingram Spark, which is a wholesaler to book retailers.
Right.
And also, they're available in some libraries through Overdrive or Libby.
Yes.
But it means that the library has to buy them. And what I found is that if you ask your library to buy my books, they'll do it. I have sales on Overdrive all the time. I just don't know where they're going to, which library they're going to. So, so hint, if you want to see my books in your library in ebook format or print format, either one, tell them they can go to either Ingram Spark or Overdrive to find them.
When our library opens up again, we'll do that.
Yay!
And then that also brings us to, when you finish one of Vikki's books, please leave feedback. Please do a review. And personal experience, I will tell you that some platforms have accepted my reviews and some have not. And don't understand why, but those reviews help.
Well, it's interesting on Amazon, if they, everything is automated. So when I say they, I'm not talking about people actually, snooping in your life. But if the automation picks up some kind of a relationship between the author and the person posting the review, and I'm not sure how they do that, but it's kind of like this. When I bought my Rad Power bike, because you guys raved about it, and both my husband and I have them now, and we are loving them. But when I bought them, all of a sudden, everywhere I went on the internet, I was getting Rad Power bike commercials, ads.
Yes, right.
So that's it's a predictive learning model that those search engines run, and then they pick the right commercials. So if Amazon picks up a relationship, they will deny the reviews. If that happens, go to Goodreads and post a review there, because Goodreads is actually owned by Amazon. And they will oftentimes pull Amazon reviews into Goodreads.
Yes.
And of course, you can post reviews on Barnes & Noble and Apple too. So I just want to thank you again about the Rad Power bikes, because it's saving my sanity. For Conrad and I to get, see, Albuquerque, we're in the foothills. A lot of people don't know this. I'm sorry, I'm kind of stringing this out. Albuquerque is actually higher than Denver, the mile-high city. We're at the desert in the mountains.
Yes.
And since Conrad and I live in the foothills, you can't ride your bike anywhere without first going downhill and then coming back uphill, or going uphill and then going down. And so riding a regular bicycle is really, it's more work than I wanted to put in. So I had to walk my bike a lot of times because the hills were so steep. But now I want you to know that Thursday I rode my Rad Power Rad City step through 13.5 miles, and it's a lot of it is uphill to get up there. Oh, I just wanted to say, if anybody wants to see my website, it's VikkiKestell.com. Thank you, Sharon. Thank you, MiLena.
It has been a pleasure. Thank you so much for taking time.
And we are really looking forward to Laynie Portland, My Resurrected, available. You can pre-order now, like we have, or but available June 2nd.